welcome or welcome back to the Everything Not Perfect podcast, and I am your host, Leah. What we do here is we engage in conversations, right? We talk about things that are not perfect. Everything that is not perfect that makes you and I humans, that's what we talk about. Why do we have these conversations? In my opinion, I believe that these conversations will be necessary for us to have, because at some point, these same things that makes us humans that are not perfect, these are the things that have the ability to make us not tap into our fullest potential, right? I have realized that, noticed that in my own life. And as a result of that, I am so passionate about helping myself to get to a point of tapping into my fullest potential, becoming the best version of myself. And I don't just want to do that alone. I want you all to come along in this journey of self-discovery with me, where we all can break free from misconceptions, break free from misbeliefs that most times hinder us from really tapping into what we can become as humans. I believe as humans, there's no limitations to what we can do, but most of the time, because of lack of information or because of misinformation, we can go about living our lives in a box. We can go about be limited with the way we think and doing the things that will really bring us happiness and fulfillment. So I'm passionate about having these conversations. Feel free to share this video, by the way, to whatever platform that rests upon your heart for you to do so. So that's it, guys. But before I go into what we're going to be talking about today, I just want to let you all know that I am very grateful for your feedback from the last video. The last video I did about me getting from hesitation to action was a video that I was super afraid to let you guys see, considering now that the video editing and the video quality was not in place. So many things went wrong in that video, but at some point I felt the need to really start from there, because I wanted to help myself to understand that sometimes the most beautiful things come from you doing the things that you feel like are not perfect, and that's what being human is about. So I really decided to tap into being the human being that I am, embracing the things that are not perfect and allowing myself to entertain growth, because guess what? This is the growth. So far so good. So I really believe that something like this will happen, but I just needed to start, and that was my humble beginning. And I'm so grateful that you guys were so passionate about listening and watching that video, and receiving your feedback warmed my heart. Honestly, it warmed my heart. I pray that at the end of the day you can actually be able to learn 2 more things from that video, so that you self will go from hesitation to action if there's anything you've been hesitating about. So if you want to get the full gist of that video, I advise you go watch it. Yeah, but that's like what we can talk about today. So for today's conversation, we are going to be talking about something new. Something I know that after talking about it, your life, the way you think, the way you approach this world, your perspective about so many things should change. I have seen immense growth in my life and in my personality, even in the way I think and see the world and other people around me. So I feel like if I actually was able to attract this growth just because I dealt with this particular thing that most of us are dealing with actually, then I feel like it is possible. It is possible for you to actually experience a difference just by you entertaining a different perspective that I want to give to you by having this conversation about this specific thing that we're going to be talking about, which I mentioned is something that is a struggle to everybody. So let us pull the cat out of the bag. We are going to be talking about insecurities. So specifically in today's discussion, we are going to be unraveling 3 misconceptions about insecurities, and these misconceptions most of the time causes us to consider insecurities as weaknesses rather than a source of strength. But I really do believe that insecurities can actually be a source of strength to us, because I've seen it manifested in my life as a source of strength. But that didn't just happen because I wanted it to manifest in my life as a source of strength. It was as a result of my mindset and the way I approached it. So basically, this is everything we are going to be talking about. We're going to start off with the definition of insecurities. Away now from the definition of insecurities, we are going to be talking about these 3 misconceptions. I'm going to tell you about them, how they manifest in your life and how they've been showing up in your life, and why you think of them the way you think of them, like that. And lastly, we are going to have a mindset shift conversation. This is where I'm going to also share with you how these misconceptions can be approached differently so that you can have a different result in terms of how you see yourself in relation to these misconceptions about insecurities. That's it, guys. So first off, we start off with the definition of insecurities. What are insecurities? Insecurities are feelings of inadequacy or uncertainty or anxiety that one gets about their abilities. That's what insecurities are. And how do they manifest in your life? How do they manifest in my life? They manifest as lack of confidence in your abilities. That's how you actually see insecurities manifesting in your life. When you lack confidence in things that you know already that you can do, that's showing an indication that you are experiencing this particular emotion called insecurities. But before we go deeper into how we can relate these three misconceptions into this particular definition, which I mentioned is something that we're going to do, let's unpack the big grammars that I mentioned about the definition. I mentioned that insecurity is a feeling of inadequacy, right? What does that word mean? It means that insecurity is a feeling of I'm not good enough. So whenever you have that feeling of I'm not good enough, or I cannot do this, or if I even want to try, I don't think I can pull it off, all these thoughts that you can get about yourself is that feeling of you are not good enough, right? So if you see yourself doing that, just know that you are actually being insecure in that moment. So I mentioned as well that insecurity is a feeling of uncertainty, right? And what does it mean to be uncertain? It means that you are not sure. You are not sure about your abilities, that these are abilities that you already have in you. But just because you are insecure, you are not going to be sure. And this is how it shows itself in your life. The example I'll give is for someone that is going for a job interview. And probably it's not like this is your first time now that you are going for that job interview. Or probably you have a competition in relation to your talent, what you already know how to do, like that. But just because this might be a different platform or a different place that you are going to now get this job, you are going to feel unsure about your own abilities, like things that probably you might be doing. So that's if you even get the paper in your hand like that, this particular job we they can't forgo be interviewed about. You already get the paper, you already get the experience and all that stuff, but you can feel unsure about yourself, right? When that happens, be sure to know that you're actually experiencing insecurities in that moment. And lastly, I mentioned that insecurities is a feeling of anxiety. And what does anxiety mean? It means that you're actually being worried at some point about your own abilities as well. And actually, I'm not going to go far when it comes to the example I have to use. I will use myself as an example. So like when I actually posted my first video, the first video I posted on YouTube, I experienced insecurity like this. I was literally worried about my abilities. Like I just posted my first video. I started to worry if I actually can pull this off. Can I continue with everything that I've already started? This was my thought. And me worrying about my abilities that I already have displayed by posting one video was just a sign of me being insecure. So that is to show that insecurities actually looks like this. So now that you've understand the definition, let's go to the three misconceptions and see how these three misconceptions relates to the definition of insecurities. So the first misconception that most of us have about insecurity is this: we feel like insecurity is a personality trait. This part is something I felt like I thought about myself for so long that made me to not want to do something about my insecurities, because I just felt like it was something I was born with. That's what it means for you to think that insecurity is a personality trait. But that is a misconception. How do I know that? Let's go back again to the definition. So as I mentioned, the word itself is telling us that this is me. I am insecurities. I am a feeling of inadequacy. I make you feel not good enough. I am a feeling of uncertainty. I make you feel unsure about your own abilities. I am a feeling of anxiety. Whenever you want to do something, I make you feel worried. This is me. This is who I am. So as a person, as an individual, let's say if someone asks you, who are you going to tell them, well, I'm an insecure person. I am afraid of this. I can't do this. I am shy. I am all these things. Are you going to tell that person that this is who you are? Or you're going to tell them your name and probably where you live and everything that you might be doing that relates to your skill or something that is related to your educational pursuit? These are things that you're going to tell people about yourself. You're not going to tell them how insecure you are, or you're not going to tell them how not good enough you are. So if you are not going to tell people these things about yourself, why then are you concluding? Why then was I concluding before now that insecurity is something I was born with? This is the definition of insecurities. This is how it is meant to show up in your life. So when it shows up in your life like this, and it makes you to lack confidence in yourself, if you want to speak up in front of a crowd, if now you are supposed to go do something different, like this is a competition, it's your first time, you're going to meet people that are skilled as you are. Of course, you're going to be worried. You're going to be worried if you're going to take on the first position, or if you're going to take on the money prize or whatever that you went there for, that is the ultimate result of why you guys are having that competition. You're going to be worried if you're going to do well, because this is your first time, right? We get to feel insecure to the point that we consider these things to be things that we are born with. That is a misconception, and what you can do about it is this. I want you to realize that insecurities is an emotional state that happens to you, that happens to me. It arises as a result of your experiences. So of course, if something happened to you before that caused you to feel insecure, that is causing you now to not be so open to new opportunities that relates to probably you speaking in the public. Probably you had a bad experience, and because of that bad experience, you think that this might repeat itself again. So why would you want to try? Your insecurity is going to bring back that memory and make you to feel like, but you tried this once and it never went well. Why must you want to try it again? I beg, just no mistake. That's how I feel like insecurities have a conversation with us in our heads. And because of your experience, these things might come back. That's how your insecurities are. This is how I want you to look at them. This is the angle I want you to view things from. And insecurities arise as a result of your situation, and also as a result of certain specific events that occur to you. And in totality, it makes you to have thoughts about yourself that makes you to consider yourself a victim of whatever thing is causing you to feel insecure. But if you look at it that way, you can learn to understand that insecurities is an emotional state. It comes and goes. It's not permanent. So if it's not permanent, then there is definitely something you can do about it, since it's not a personality trait. It's not something you were born with. So the next misconception about insecurities is this. We normally think that insecurities is a me problem or is a you problem. This is to say that we feel like other people are not experiencing this thing of feeling insecure. You thinking that nobody is dealing with insecurities and you are the only one dealing with insecurities is a misconception. How do I know this? I actually went back to the definition when I was on my own journey of like learning how to get a new mindset about insecurities. I went back to the definition. This was what I found out, guys. I found out that the definition is telling you and I that insecurities is a feeling of all these things that we talked about. So if insecurities is a feeling, oh okay, who created this particular feeling? I thought to myself, God. And God created this feeling and it exists in me. So as a human being that God created as well, God created so many other human beings, right? So if insecurity as a feeling is existing in me, 100% chances are they are existing in every other person as well, right? So the proof is this. What people do and what I have been doing and I've seen in my life is I literally take action. And this is something I realized about insecurities or any other thing in totality. Whenever you decide to take action, to do something, to consistently be at it, there are high chances are you are going to be less afraid to do it. You are going to improve in the way you approach that particular thing. And that was what happened to me when it comes to my insecurity of like speaking in front of the camera and communicating with people in public. So these are the things that I have been doing to help me deal with my insecurities. And I really do believe that this is what other people are doing as well. They take action, they do not decide to be insecure and stay insecure just because they are dealing with the emotion, right? They take action and then have a different result, and that's how you actually overcome your insecurities. And that doesn't mean you're not going to forever deal with your insecurities anymore. They are going to pop up because they are temporal emotions that shows up in your life, but as a result of you acting, you become less insecure. And that is the mindset I have now about insecurities, and that is a healthy mindset I want you also to have about insecurities, because it shows that you can do something about it, and it is not a you problem, but it is a universal problem. So if other people are doing something about their insecurities, why not you? If I am doing something about my insecurities, maybe insecure as like why now you don't do something about them? It's all about you taking action. So now that's how I you understand about this particular misconception, say insecurities is not you problem. Away from this one, let's talk about the third misconception. People consider insecurities to be evil spirits, and I consider insecurities to be evil spirits as well in my life. Considering now that I was dealing with this particular thing for a very, very long time, and I prayed about it. I made so many prayer requests about this particular thing for God to eliminate it in my life, but I never saw it happening the way I wanted it, because my plan was to never ever deal with insecurities again. And that is so impossible. Why did I say that? Let's go back to the definitions. So the definition tells us that insecurities are feelings, right? So if they are feelings and God created these feelings, it exists in you, it exists in me, it exists in everybody. And just like insecurities, which is one of the feelings that God created as well other feelings like happiness, anger, sadness, all these other things. They exist in all of us. So why must you think now that God should eliminate this one just because you prayed about it? Like God should actually cut it off in your life? I do believe that just like all the other emotions that God placed in us, they have vice versa purpose. They can be positive, they can be negative as well. It's all left to the way you approach them. And I feel like what I do for myself now is this: I ask God for wisdom to help me deal with my insecurities. Just as you go ask God for wisdom for help you deal with anger, for help you deal with depression. These are things you cannot eliminate in your life like that entirely, but they can be positive and also they can be negative. If only you can be in that position of asking God for wisdom to deal with your emotions will not control your life. That's not the way things should go. These are things that are meant to serve us. But in the other way around, most of us are serving our emotions. And insecurity is one of these emotions that we serve. We allow it to control our lives. And we think that praying about it in a way that we want God to eliminate it will solve the problem. That's why you are continuously praying about it. It's not actually helping. What you should do is you should ask God for wisdom to help you deal with it in a healthy way, in a different way, and to think about it from an angle of like, these things are already existing in me. There's nothing I can do about it. I just need to get myself to a point where I can healthily deal with them in a better way, and God can help you with that. But one way though I can help you through God right now is to help you to understand that your insecurities can be dealt with when you take necessary actions towards them. And these are the things that we're going to be talking about as well in the next episode. But in the next episode, my aim is to help you to redefine your insecurities. That can be one way you can take action towards solving the problem of dealing with insecurities in a very excessive way. I do believe that they should exist in your life. I am not in any way thinking that they should not exist, but what I can do about them is to take action and think differently when it comes to dealing with them. And this is something that I've been applying in my life, and it has been working, and this is what I want to help you with as well. But for today's conversation, I just wanted to help you to get a different mindset about your insecurities. So I hope with this conversation I was able to help you get a different mindset about these three misconceptions about insecurities that we spoke of. So the first one, which we mentioned, that insecurities is a personality trait. It is not a personality trait. You are not born with it, and there is something you can do about it, and it's not something that you should be guilting yourself into. And again, we spoke of it that it's not a you problem, it is a universal problem. And if other people are doing something about their insecurities, then you too can do something about it, and stop guilting yourself and literally take baby actions into dealing with your insecurities, because that's what other people are actually doing about their insecurities. And lastly, we spoke about insecurities being an evil spirit. This is not something that is hunting you down, making you not to be at your best, because of it's an evil spirit. It's not an evil spirit. God did not place it in your life for it to be constantly affecting you the way it affects you. It is something that can be a weakness to you if it's not something you approach in a different or healthy way. That's why it's affecting you like that. But just like every other emotion, you cannot pray about eliminating it. What you can do is ask God for wisdom to help you to deal with your insecurities. But again, in the next video, as I mentioned, guys, we'll deal with insecurities from the point of redefining them. And I do believe that if you have a healthy way to redefine your insecurities, that can be one way you can actually approach your insecurities in a different way that can help you to get a healthy relationship with your insecurities. So that's it, guys. Thank you for being part of today's episode.